Hello and welcome to week 2 of our game. Delighted to be back once again in association with Lagoland, and delighted to say that we have a bit of hurling royalty with us. And Pat Ryan, I believe the music is playing for you, Pat, because I think that was playing the night you won the county final. I haven't been speaking to you since you broke your duck in the Limerick Senior Hurling Championship. That must have been an unbelievable couple of weeks, months, days.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. It was unreal. We actually got our medals just there Sunday night gone inside Limerick. Jarlath Burns actually came down and presented us with the medals. So brilliant. That was a nice touch, and he spoke very, very well. And look, it was great. But that's kind of we've enjoyed it now for that all the way up to the first weekend of February. So I think we're kind of ready to park it now at this stage. And even Monday was a bank holiday, so a few of us got to kind of enjoy the Monday as well. But that's definitely it now. We've enough done. So looking forward to getting back training.
You got good old mileage out of it, to be fair.
I know, yeah. Jesus, we couldn't have asked for much more, to be honest. It was a great thing nearly that the medals was. I remember they tried to get it someplace in early January or something like that, but hotels, it was hard to get a hotel, so they didn't get one till the bank holiday weekend in February. So no, look, it was great. We went Clare's went black tie and all Sunday night, so it was just good fun. We never, obviously, it's our first championship in the club in history, so we've never had a night like that, you know. So it was great. It's fantastic. It's a great night for the likes of parents and coaches and people that have been involved in the club for years. It's a night like that is really for them. It's a night for them to sit down and be thanked for what they've done and different things. So look, you'll never beat your first one. We realised that with Limerick in 2018, that the first one is always extremely special. So we had to make the most of it.
Well, I got on to you the other night to come on to today's show, and you sent me a picture. A picture in the mirror with your full black tie on, and it says, "Is Paul Meshkill going to the Grammys here, or what's the story?"
Oh, stop. Well, I get that every now and then. But you're not the first one to say that to me. I get it more so when I was over in America for the summer. A lot of people say I look like him, but I don't know. I don't really see it, but some people do.
I don't know if you follow the unnamed Crack of the Ash on Twitter, but he said, Pat Ryan of Doon and Limerick fame and International Hurler of the Year with your Tipp jersey over in New York or wherever you are will be on our game today. So he gave us a bit of exposure there. But yeah. he's like Mr. X in The Simpsons. Nobody knows who he is exactly.
No, I have no idea who he is, but he's brilliant. He puts up a lot of stuff about the Limerick Club Championship. He was putting up matches and clips and everything this year, and fellas didn't know where he was getting the video because the Limerick games weren't being streamed. So he has a lot of inside knowledge wherever he is, I'll tell you that. But fellas, they're good crack to have, you know. That photo he put up was actually, my uncle is involved in the club in Tipp, New York over there, and my first cousin Donica. So that was it's a nice photo for us to have. I always wanted to go over and give my uncle Donica a year hurling with his team over there. So I was delighted I got the opportunity.
Just with the county season now been started back, Pat, nice little buzz around it as well, listener. And even the other night was, listen, it wasn't perfect conditions or anything like that, but there was a nice bit of needle in it for the time of the year. Maybe something we're not used to in the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, it was a great start back, and to be honest, the leagues, I think the league this year has already, we're only 2 rounds in, but there seems to be an extra bit of bite, an extra bit of competitiveness from the changes they've made, with the 2 being relegated in the bottom 2 and the top 2 coming up from 1B. It's really added a bit of spice to it. But I suppose Cork and Limerick, it was just what happened last year. It was pretty obvious Limerick were going to go down there. They did not want to lose to Cork, whether it was going to be three times in a row. Because people will always say about league matches, this team doesn't try in the league, this team doesn't try. You can be sure all the Limerick lads the other day did not want to lose to Cork for the 3rd time in a row after losing to them twice last year. And the first one below in Cork in the Munster Championship, that's one that it's at the time you didn't think it was much of a big deal, Limerick losing that, but then Cork turned around and get back to an All-Ireland semi-final and beat Limerick in the All-Ireland semi-final. So we kind of had our opportunity to maybe, I won't say finish them, but finish them last year if we bet them below in the Munster Championship game in Cork. But look, I was at that game. That was an incredible game. Cork played really, really well and deserved to win it and deserved to beat Limerick in the semi-final, at Croke Park. But I think Limerick I think what happened last week now sets up the Munster round robin game. Limerick and Cork coming to Limerick this year. That's going to be a sellout, I think, and it'll be an unbelievable game. There's definitely a bit of needle there now. They don't like each other, them 2 teams.
No, definitely not. Have you been chatting to many of the lads even in the off season without giving away any state secrets? Like, it's a different type of off season. There must be a nice bit of hunger fester. And I know even Tom Morrissey was in the media the other day saying he was away in more luck to him. He was away in the Copacabana, I think, for a couple of months or something like that.
Yeah.
getting the thirst and getting the hunger back. Is that the kind of vibe you've got from different lads you've been speaking to?
I met a few of the boys. You meet a few of the lads over Christmas and stuff like that for a few drinks, and like it would be the first. We'll say it would be the first winter, bar 2020. Obviously, whenever it was locked down with COVID, but it would be the first winter for a lot of lads since pre 2018 that there wouldn't have been a team holiday, and a team trip and different things. So I think that naturally, subconsciously, that gets the hunger going again. Like when everyone just kind of sitting around for the winter, not looking forward to going away anywhere, and having missed out in the All Ireland final, obviously not even been in the All Ireland final. Obviously, it was a chance to go for 5 in a row. Not that players, I think they just wanted to win the All Ireland, but not even to get a chance to compete for the 5 in a row in one sense, in not getting to the final. Obviously, would sting some lads, and it's just it was a tough pill to swallow. I'd say. What did they lose by in the end? 2 points to Cork in the semi-final, and 2 points is a small margin. I think whenever they did lose, for such a great group of players, I've always wanted to see like what will the next year be like when they do lose, because I think this year now we could see a lot of lads just kind of get back to their best and let rip and just put absolutely everything into it. And to be honest, I was really, really impressed with Limerick the other day. Like when you consider the amount of starters we're missing, I know it's league, I know every team doesn't have their full team, but we were missing a lot of main players. We were missing 6 or 7 of our best players over the last 3 or 4 years. And I thought a lot of our, fringe players that haven't played over the last few years that will play this year played really, really well. I thought Patrick O'Donovan, who played probably his first start against a top team, got 3 points in play in the first half. Thought he was brilliant. Aidan O'Connor, I thought was on, I don't know what the stats of the match were. I thought his possession count was through the roof, which is great for a fella like him because he has all the hurling anyway. He just needs to be getting on the ball, and he did that. And Adam didn't play as well as maybe some fellas expecting to play, like the fellas want him to shoot lights out every night, but you can't do that every night. But you can work hard every night, and he really did that. Alongside William, it's a bit of William's rough and tumbleness is rubbing off him. I think that I thought it was a great battle midfield with Ethan Toomey and Luke Mead, who I thought both played well as well. Ethan Toomey now to me is a fella that looks like has to start with Cork this year. He looks like a fella they've been missing, with a lot of physicality around the middle third and stuff like that. So no, look, Limerick are in a great position. They'll probably be missing more, let's say, key players this weekend. Now William went off probably with a slight hamstring. It looked like Sean Hego had to get a few stitches on his hand. So more fellas will get their opportunity now this weekend, and we're just hoping more fellas put up their hand.
Good comment in from Mark Corcoran there. He said, I think beating Clare twice and seeing them lift the All-Ireland will give Limerick some motivation. I think between that and losing to Cork twice, like a team that beat you twice, got beaten the All-Ireland final, a team that you beat twice, won the All-Ireland final, and they're your near neighbours. They're both your neighbours. You know what I mean? They won't be wanting for any motivation anyway.
I know, yeah. And our other neighbours are tipped in. So if you listen to them as well, like, they're after starting the year flying as well. So I've got cousins and stuff like that in Tipp, and they tell me Tipp are back already. They're saying they were back in the last weekend of January. So yeah, look, it's going to be a great championship. It's going to be obviously the Munster Championship very good. I think the Leinster Championship is going to be fantastic this year. I really do. I feel like we could see if someone can top on Kilkenny, be it in a final or someone else get to a final. I think it's incredibly open. I genuinely do think an Offaly or a Dublin could win a Leinster Championship this year. I know some people would say you would probably want to dampen spirits in Offaly, and I'm not putting too much pressure on it like that. But I've seen Dublin once or twice this year. They're moving really, really well, and obviously the boost what happened with the Fina will give them as well. But I just think we could have a special year in the Leinster Championship if someone like a Dublin or an Offaly or maybe someone else even like a Wexford get their act together. It doesn't look like it at the moment, obviously, but with the retirements they've had. But I think there could be something special there in that province as well as the Munster Championship. Every round of the Munster Championship is almost special because it's so tight. So look, we'll see. We're in for a great year now, and sooner it starts the better. It's
gas. You mentioned about Offaly there and wanting to dampen expectations. I was chatting to Johnny Pilkington for a piece to do with I think it was 30 years. Sorry now, Pat. It was 30 years on from 94. Apologies. I know you were probably barely even born at the time. But any chance to bring up that, I'll take it anyway. But when you have someone like that, you try and get a couple of more newsy bits out of him. So it says, Johnny, he's obviously selected with the 20s. I said, a lot of people saying Offaly are common force or whatever, it's not going to happen that easily or whatever, is it? They're in for a bit of a rude awakening at senior. And he just goes to me, typical Johnny Pilkington. If you tell him one thing, he'll do the exact opposite. And he's like, what year is it now? And he says, 24. I'd say probably by 28, but definitely by 2030, we'll have a senior All-Ireland one. And I was like, all right, Johnny, a great way of damping the expectations in the county. You've just blown them out of proportion. But he's involved with that 20 group, and like all the words coming back are just maybe a bit special, a bit like the group that Eve produced there as well. So, here's hoping that they deliver on it. But there is an opportunity there for someone maybe to step up in Leinster, be it an Offaly, maybe an Antrim, but it is definitely going to be interesting. Something I wanted to touch on, Pat. You were there the last time, obviously, when they were beaten in 19. Like, how different was even when he came back training that year? Was John any different? Was Paul any different? Was there what was it like, would say, compared to the previous winter?
We definitely came back with a bit between our teeth. Now, I remember we were still, even back then, the year before COVID, we were Super 11s 2 years in a row in 18 and 19. So we still had a trip in 19. We got away in the Super 11s to New York. It was in Boston in 18 and New York in 19. So look, we still got to enjoy ourselves there, and that was great fun. But when we came back, there was definitely a bit between the teeth. Now, how I can say it translated on is a bit, I can't really say exactly, because COVID hit in February or March then in 2020. So we fellas ended up doing an awful lot of training individually, and the club championship was played first. But, if it's anything like, I'd imagine, like it was in 19 when we first got back to Rakeen and then wet wintry nights, there was a real bit between the teeth. It doesn't get mentioned, overly often. It was only mentioned once, to be honest. We went away on a training camp before COVID. It was actually about a week before COVID hit. We went to Portugal, and we were just brought into a meeting room one day, and there was a big projector there, and we watched the Kilkenny game. And I never watched a game before where there was more silence. We watched the entire game without stopping, without anyone introduction saying this or that. We watched the entire game from start to finish, and not one, you wouldn't have heard a pin drop in the room for the 75 minutes, which that's something that sticks out to me a lot. And then we went through it, and then it was part, and it was never really mentioned again. Basically.
Well, yeah, that's what was that like? Even just watching it in silence, I'd imagine there's so many things even going through your head and going through different lads' heads. I wish I could have done this, wish I could have done that. And just, I suppose it's all kind of brewing for putting it into action the following year or the year after or whatever it is.
And any game you lose in by the smallest margin, any game you lose by a point, and when you're watching the game together, you know that you lose this game by a point. A fella makes a small mistake where a ball dribbles wide or something after 7 minutes, and you're like, you're sitting beside him, he's like, if I got that, we wouldn't have lost, which is, it's a harsh way of looking at it. Like Kilkenny, that day in particular, Kilkenny I think they went 110 to 3 points up or something like that, or 1-9 to 2. It was just,
and they were just holding on, Pat.
We done so well.
Start. Yeah,
I remember warming up when Shane Dowling got that goal, one of the best goals I've ever seen in Croke Park. It was an exceptional goal, especially on Murphy as well, to get that goal on him from that distance out and the way he struck it. I remember when that goal went in, I got very confident that I was like, we were just a few of us sent down for warm up, and I was like, oh, lovely, we have him here, we have him. I just kind of thought briefly for a moment to myself, and it looked like, exactly, to be honest, it popped into my head like the 12 months previously, because Cork were 6 points up on us in the 18 semi-final with 6 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And we just reeled them in as well. So I thought, lovely, hopefully we get at least a draw again, even if it has to go to extra time. But no, they just held out. I remember TJ Reid catching 1 or 2 puck outs, and he caught one over Dan Morrissey, and I still to this day, I'm watching Dan play since under 12. I think it's the only player that's ever caught balls over his head. It's what it feels like anyway. And I remember when he caught it, I remember thinking, oh no, Jesus, that's a bad sign for us and a great sign for them, because then, like I said, you just can't win it. You can't win primary ball over the Dan usually, but obviously TJ Reid is on another level even. But look, they deserve to win it on the day. What can you say? It just moves on, and in fairness, what would have been worse was if we never came back, or if it took a couple of years to come back. It would have been an awful what if, because at halftime, I remember someone saying at halftime, I don't know, maybe it wasn't halftime, it was maybe in the week leading up to the match or before the match, like, this is a great chance for us to do 2 in a row. And Limerick had never done 2 in a row in 2019. And I remember then after the game in the dressing room, just thinking to myself, I never said it to anyone, I was like, God, will we ever get the chance to go for 2 in a row again? Do it would have been great to be the first in your team to do 2 in a row. And it's so hard to go for 2 in a row, to even get that far, as in to go up to Croke Park for a semi-final. But obviously that got blown out of the water, obviously, come 2020, 2021, and what went on afterwards. And I never would have been in years would have dreamed the team would win 4 in a row. back in those days. So look, it just, thank God it worked out. Thank God we came back and we fired back in 2020. If we didn't, who knows what would have happened? Would it have taken another couple of years? It's small margins.
Did Paul change much in the off season? Because I know for a fact that the line ball that Dara had to draw the game, ye didn't take on a score from a line ball until Galan took one on in the dying seconds of the 2023, I'm going to say, All-Ireland final. Like, you didn't take on, it was like Cork, the mathematician, had been like, okay, the odds are against us here, and we're going to try and play the odds as much as possible. Am I right in saying that? Were there other little kind of tweaks that...
Yeah, like, I don't think, look, it was never mentioned to the group. I don't think I'd say, well, I can't remember being mentioned to the entire group, but obviously would have been mentioned to Dara, I'd say, and the primary fellas who were taking the sidelines up along the field, that, look, it's quite obvious that was something they pinpointed and just said, look, I don't think it was just direct of that score, though. I think it was more, Paul would look at things broader, and he'd look over 2 years' games and how many teams are probably losing possession from a line ball, and because they classify a lot of restarts as the same, whether that's a free, a puck out, or a line ball. A line ball is a restart the same as a puck out or a free from back to field. So I think it's just probably, look, there's a lot of data in terms of the people that are involved nowadays. I think they're just looking at retaining the restart.
Yeah.
There's some hurling folk now don't want to hear that talk. But that's all it is. I just think that they just, Paul is just probably thinking, look, if we can just hold on to the ball, we've a better chance of scoring when we have the ball. Whereas if the sideline just goes 40, 50 yards, because I think, like, Dara is an incredible sideline taker, and he consistently scores them for the club here in Doon. And he has scored a good few for Limerick over the years, pre 2019. He's never really shot from one since, but he has a lot of them scored over the years. And sometimes I wish that, he'd nearly take one or two more on in the Munster Championship. But sure, we're going for 7 Munster Championships in a row, so I'm not going to argue with Cork on that one.
Is when you say that, is that like, that must be a bit hard to believe? Like, six already done, going for 7. Like, considering how competitive Munster has been, and you go in again this year and it's ultra competitive again, like that, it's mad when you think about it, really.
It's bonkers, yeah. It's insane. 2013, I was part of the minor team that played in 2013 and played before the senior, which was the right, like, I don't understand why they ever changed that. No, I know the Offaly team can bring their own crowd like they did for the minor a couple of years ago. Most teams, and for me growing up, and for a lot of fellas I grew up with, us playing before the senior games was absolutely huge. But I remember 2013, we played Waterford in the Munster minor final, and the crowd that came in, the crowd that day, Limerick and Cork were in the Munster final, and it was the first time Limerick had won since 96, 17 years. And the scenes that day, like, the people pouring out onto the field, we were actually sitting just behind the senior players, so we got to pour out onto the field pretty early as well. Now, the only thing was, we couldn't go out that night and have a few drinks with everyone in the whole county. The whole county went mental, but we had drawn the semi-final against Waterford. So the replay was on the Wednesday, like 3 or 4 days later, against Waterford in Thurles. So we couldn't go out and enjoy it. So it was the only bad thing. But that day on the field, I'm just kind of stating how crazy it was. I felt like I had never seen Limerick win a Munster in 17 years. And then they won that. And now, some people are going up. That's all they've seen. That's all they know. But that was an incredibly special day in 2013. So to win, for fellas now to have 6, 7 Munster titles like Declan Hannon does, and a few more, that's just, again, it's hard to believe.
David Reedy's the left field one. A lot of people wouldn't realise that he has 7. I think it's Hannon, Reedy, and Quaid. Am I right in saying?
And Graham Mull, yeah.
Graham Mull, yeah. But he's obviously not going to win anymore now at this stage, whereas the rest of
I know, yeah. The world, and Reedy would have been the only one of them to give a year not involved, which was 17, but we won nothing in 17, so he didn't miss out on. He won. I think he probably picked up a medal with Kildare that year.
I'm not sure, did he?
I don't know if he did, but
I'm not sure, did he? But he was called back into the Limerick panel after, which is mad. Like, he went away for a year and came back. I think Joe Quaid was in charge of Kildare at the time, and he had himself and the mad John Mulhall in there for the year. He might have had Mulhall for another year or two, I'm not sure. But Pat, have you seen? We've obviously a very small sample size with Limerick. We've only seen one game. Have you seen anything different apart from, like, a hell of a lot of, not new faces, but a hell of a lot of faces that maybe aren't regular starters playing? Even tactically, did you see much the other night? I know it was very, very hard to gauge in conditions.
Yeah, look, it wasn't a very open flowing game, but it was a very enjoyable game to watch. There was a lot of hard hitting and stuff like that. And obviously, look, it was a hard night for shooting, so you can't really judge forwards too much on that. Overall, I thought Limerick played very well. I thought Limerick were look, call a spade, they were unlucky not to win the game. You know, not only with the extra time that was played over the 7 minutes. I really don't think it was a free that the last one got, you know, but that we all know that just happens in hurling sometimes where you have to be 2 points up to win a game almost, you know. But like I thought Jason Glenn was brilliant in goals, you know. He showed that he has the free taking capabilities as well, that people, you know, everyone in Limerick is debating who'll start in goals himself for Dowling. And everyone is saying, oh, you know, but Dowling could take the long range frees, like he's incredible at it, which he is. And now Jason the other night is after adding more spice to the debate. Actually, now Jason can do it as well. Yeah. You know, but actually, usually, you know, Dan and Kyle were just like, you know, just rocks at 3 and 6. And
would you see Hayes at 6 long term, or what do you think? My only reservation with him at 6 is that he's so good going forward, like so good. And if you go forward from 7, you're leaving a flank. If you go forward from 6, you're leaving potentially the whole field behind you. But I just even remember Brian Hayes getting the ball the other night, and Hayes was tracking back, and he just made a diagonal run, and immediately Brian Hayes knows, okay, I'm not trying to go around this lad here.
The point off, he's right, Jack. If that was another player there, that Brian Hayes would have dipped the shoulder.
Yeah,
and he would have dipped the shoulder to go in and at least create a goal chance. At least say, I'll probably get in, I'll get some flicker shot at the goal chance, or I might get brought down. Whereas he saw Kyle in the corner of his eye. And Brian Hayes on the right thing, he was smart, because he probably would bottle him up, you know. And playing over the years, playing against some of the member players, you have to do that. You have to change your style. If a fella's like, I've often played against the Pearship every single year. And say I'm playing against William O'Donoghue. If you get a ball and you just kind of assume to take off, and you don't think that William O'Donoghue isn't going to catch you, or at least try and bottle you up, or get some form of contact on you, you know, unless you have a right big head start, you're fooling yourself. So as soon as you see him, or often the thing with William is you actually hear him. You hear him grunting and moaning and running at you. So over the years, you hear that and you're thinking, right, I'm going to turn back, or I'm going to look for a pass. Because again, you try and take him on with the size advantage he has. So good at potting you up. And Kyle, obviously, Brian Hayes taught that in the same thing. But no, Limerick, look, to be honest, it's the same side for a lot of years because it's working. Do you know? And even let's say it's working, you lost Cork twice last year. We lost by 2 points. Do you know, in both games. Now, the only one thing I will say is the All-Ireland semi-final last year, we got no goal. The other night, it's only one game, you know, it's only the first league game. We got one goal, came from midfielder, William, obviously. We didn't really create any goal chances in our last 2 competitive games against Cork last year in semi-final and the game the other day. That's something if Limerick are looking to improve, you'd say, like, you know, because when we're at our best over the last couple of years, some of our best performances have been in All-Ireland finals and stuff. We've scored 2-3 goals in the games. In the games, you'd say we've been at our best. Now, there was other years, obviously, where the team are just getting, you know, high up in the high 20s, almost 30 point mark. But I always feel that, you know, to be going really well, you have to be scoring goals. And I think whatever forward comes in this year, looking for a place to nail down, whether it's Shane O'Brien that's full forward, or whether Glenn gets back to his best, or whatever it is, if we can start scoring a few goals, you know, and really punishing teams like that, you know, and I'd love to see us, you know, kind of go for that goal a bit more often, even a bit maybe earlier in games, even just go for it. I think that's an area we can definitely improve on, because I think if we're hitting 2 or 3 goals onto the kind of, we always get a good chance of points that I think we'll be very, very hard to stop then. But look, it's a long way to go, you know, and it's not a change. You said about will Kyle be 6 or 7? There's what happened to me. I don't know, to be honest, but to me it depends. There's an awful lot of competition from midfield. Darragh Donovan has to come back in. Cahal O'Neill come back in. He plays at either 11 or 9. Cian Lynch goes between 11 or 9 as well. William, they're playing Adam there as well. You know, I think personally, whoever forms midfield partnership, if they decide they don't need William at midfield, then they might say, look, we'll play William at 6. Yeah. You know, and then play Kyle at 7, or maybe they'll play Kyle at 7. Maybe Declan Hannon will come back. We get back in and get a run in the team, get a bit of form going in the league. Maybe Declan Hannon will play at 7. Maybe Declan Hannon will play corner forward. Declan Hannon scored 2-4 in a club game last year, corner forward, and 1-5 the week after in another club game. Do you know what I mean? No, I don't know if that'll happen. I've absolutely no idea, but you know, who knows? You know, maybe Adam get pushed into the forwards. I've always seen Adam as a forward growing up. It's a bit different for me here with the doing hat on. You know, I always love to see Adam closer to goal, because I think he's such a goal threat. But, you know, maybe they will do that then if the midfield partnership becomes William and Darragh, or if it becomes Cahal O'Neill and William, or whatever way it goes. So there's a lot of options there. There's a lot of things going to be tried, I'd say, in the next 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of options, and that's the wealth of riches that you have. Like, there's loads of names to go into the hat for a few positions, which is a great thing. Whereas if you're just pulling off the three or four for 3 or 4, for 2 or 3 spots, then you're under pressure. And then another team, obviously, that Limerick played the other night, like Cork's options, like their cup overflows nearly, doesn't it?
It does, but I don't know. I think something with Cork. I think they need to just like it's 2020. They won the 20s All Ireland in 2021. I think they've. I don't know. I think they could. I think if you look at the five, I'm thinking back to the All Ireland final, right? 5 players that won the 20s All Ireland played in that. You had Owen Downey, Alan Connolly, Brian Hayes, Kieran Joyce, and Shane Barrett. And at the first round championship, 2 of them didn't start. Owen Downey and Brian Hayes. Owen Downey went on to win an All-Star, and Brian Hayes to me was screwed out of an All-Star. I thought Brian Hayes should have been in the full forward in an All-Star.
I was on the All-Star committee, Pat, so I'll put my hand up there, even though.
I just thought he was brilliant. I thought he was really good. I thought he was very good. I thought he was very unlucky. But my point being is that like Shane Barrett, Alan Connolly, Kieran Joyce, them 5 players and them out there are probably their best out of their 6-7 performers in the last 2 years. I know 2 when he started playing last year have been their best players. So it's no coincidence. I think if they could get 1 or 2 more, Paddy Power, I think probably would have got a place in the team, but he got bad news tonight because he just looks like a proper full forward as well. He looks like a fella who could have nailed down a spot. But when he came off injured the other night, I don't know why they brought on Huggy in the sense that why not bring on Robbie Cotter?
Yeah.
You
know what you're going to get out of Huggy, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, he's trying to test. They know that come championship what he's going to do, etc. But I just thought a fella like Robbie Cotter there, that could have been his opportunity. If he comes in then and gets 3 points, 1, 2, if he does, because he ended up coming on in with I think maybe 7 or 8 minutes to go. Whereas, I think that game down there, could you not just have brought him on when Paddy Power went off injured? Robbie Cotter was another guy from that 20s team that everyone was building this 20s team to backbone the Cork team, but it's taken a long time to do it. Eaton told me now, I know I said him a while ago, like he'll probably add to that 5 that started in the All Ireland last year. I'd imagine he'll probably nail down a place this year. But look, you just don't know either, do you? You don't know what the league form will go, but they have an awful lot of players, but I don't know. I don't like to say they're missing something just yet, but I don't know. It's just it's a hard All Ireland to win. Could Cork win the All Ireland? Of course they could, but I don't know. They're just they need 1 or 2 more of them younger players to come in and do what Brian Hayes and Owen Downey done last year. I think
I think they're going to be missing something until they win All Ireland. Realistically, that I honestly think it's could be very similar to yourselves. I think when they get over the line, it's just like, and I've seen it, like, and I hope it's the same with you in the club, that once you win one, it's like the pressure is lifted off and you're playing completely different. I've seen it with Kilcormac in my own county when they won their first, went all the way to an All Ireland club final. There's examples in all sports, teams that have, like, I don't know if you're a snooker man, but if Jimmy White had won one of his first 2 world titles, world finals, I guarantee he would end up with 3 or 4. It's just the nature of it. I just think the hardest thing for Cork would be getting the first. If I was Pat Ryan, your namesake, obviously, which is no doubt quite annoying, I'd be going for the league, I'd be going for Munster, I'd be going for all of them. And if you get the league on the table at the start, like, I think that would be huge. They haven't won a league since 1998, 27 years.
They're going, I don't care what anyone says, they are going all out for the league. They're going all out for the league. You can see in the challenge matches they played against UCC, against Cork, the conditioning they're in early. Even, like, to be honest, him bringing on Huggy the other night and not a fella like Robbie Cotter, that tells me enough I need to know that they're just trying to get that home win that they need to make, because you need to win your home games, you'd imagine, in a league format to give yourself the best chance to get into the top 2. They're going all out for a league, in my opinion. And they should, like, you know what I mean? Brian Lohan, I think it took an awful lot of pressure off Brian Lohan last year. You know what I mean? He was in year 5, and that was his first trophy winning the league. And to win the league is a massive honour. Like, it's a national title. You can only compete for 2. So it always irks me when people say the league doesn't matter. It does matter. It matters a lot to players. It mattered an awful lot to when I was involved at Limerick before we won any league. Like, I remember Tom Morrison mentioned it in the group one day. He's like, I want to win an All Ireland. This is before we had any All Ireland or any Munster. I want to win an All Ireland, a Munster, and a National League. He said that in 2016, like, to the group, like, that was it. Like, there were the 3 things that were an offer that he wanted to win, and he was saying it straight out. And I remember at the time thinking, geez, you know what? He's right to say it straight out. Maybe, it's not easy sometimes to just say things straight out to a group like that. Like, this is what I want. And he did it. We were actually blowing Spike Island, blowing Cork, probably the worst night of my life. everything sticks out so vividly from that weekend. We were on a training weekend below and TJ Ryan was over us. And it was one of those things that the army fellas were doing. They were just trying to, asking you why you're doing this, etc. And that's what Tom said. And it always stuck with me since, So I do think Cork will go absolutely all out for the league. They have a good chance to be honest, because to win a league, you need to have a strong panel. We see it with Galway in the first round, different things when they're missing starters. And what the narrative is about some teams is, when they get their good players back together, they'll be more competitive because they need them. Whereas to win a league, your numbers from 16 to 28 have to be very good to win a national league, And I think the evidence is there in that with Limerick over the years, and with Clare last year. Clare looked to have a very strong panel, we'd say from 16 to 30 or whatever it is at the moment, because they were very good against Kilkenny even 2 weeks ago with an awful lot of fellas who didn't play last year. So it's interesting. I do think Cork will go all
out. Just on that, Pat, you were saying there about Spike Island. How bad was the training, or what were you doing? Were you just dogging you and abusing you?
Horrific, absolutely horrific. We went down for 24 hours, got off the boat. We didn't know what we were doing. We thought we had a feeling we might be something tough wise, but we maybe said, look, it'll probably be 4 or 5 hours. We'd be doing a bit of training for, and maybe we get into Cove in for a few pints tonight or something like that. No, 24 hours solid, sleeping in tents on the island. Didn't get into the tent till about 12 or 1 o'clock, and was walking up with hoses into the tent at about 3 or 4 a.m. It was horrific. We were actually supposed to have a 21s challenge match the following day. John Kiley was over 21s, and we were getting back on the bus and we could barely walk. And the 21s challenge match had to be called off because there was about 7 or 8 of us supposed to go up to it. And I often said to TJ Ryan afterwards, I said, "What the fuck was that about? Like, what was?" He goes, "Oh, jeez, that I didn't think to be as bad." He said, "He nearly killed us." Gavin O'Mahony said getting on the bus that day we were going back. He said, he turned to TJ. He said, "If we're ever coming here again," he said, "let me know." I said, "I'll just be pulling the plug." He said. And there was two cute fuckers didn't come that day. We always said that they must have known what was coming. Richie McCarthy and Shane Dowling were the only two that missed.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, they must have known something we didn't.
They must have had a bit of inside knowledge, Jesus, without doubt.
It was like that. It's what I think that's going on in RT at the moment, where the army thing? What do they call that show?
Yeah,
Muffus or something. I don't know what it is, but that was exactly Hell Week. Hell Week,
yeah.
It was that, instead of a week, it was that for 24 hours, just non-stop. Lifting stones. When we came out, when they turned the hoses on us in the tent at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, we were sent to the bottom of a hill and we were given buckets, and you'd fill up the buckets of stones and take them to the top and just empty the bucket and go back down and do it again. And they caught some fella then that had no stones in his bucket that was walking up with it. It was in the pitch dark, but one fella came over and checked the bucket and there was no stones, so we got more punishment.
Hey, you may name him.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it was one of the O'Briens and Patrick Swell, but sure, he was half asleep going up the hill. That's a long time ago now. It was a rough night. And the worst it was when we were inside in the tent, I remember we got about 2 or 3 hours of sleep from maybe 12:30 to 3:30. I could hear the music from a pub over in Cove across the water. I know you're ever on Spike Island, you're looking across about 100 or 200 yards. I could hear a DJ, I could hear music, I could hear fellas out in the smoking area laughing. And I remember thinking, oh jeez, I'd love to be over there now. But that was the first and last time we ever done any army training and things like that. So if I never see it again, I'll be delighted.
They were just teasing you with the music. This is what you could be doing tonight, but you're not.
Yeah. Oh God, it was tough. Now it was tough.
Pat, just looking at the game this weekend, just talk to me a bit about, like, everybody hates Tipp. There's no point in saying any different. But when you're living right on the border, I'd imagine it's a bit different. Like, I even think, was Derek McGrath saying, when I think you were one of the cohort that met him. I think you met him in Tipp, did you? Ballycastine, was it where you met him, was it? Yeah,
Ballycastine. It's only 10 minutes from here, 2 or 3 minutes on from Ula. There, be just right across from the Tipperary Junction, the Tipperary racecourse. And that was just because obviously he was coming up from Waterford, so we met him there. So yeah, look, we're right on the border here in Doon as well. Sure, my mother's from Tipp and stuff, but look, Tipp are off to a good start. I think this game will be very competitive and very close. On Sunday, they seem to be getting a few things right. Tipp, I like the way they have Connolly and Mikey Breen kind of manning the goals, closest to their goalie. 2 big, strong men. You kind of need that when you look at other teams' full forward lines. Like we've had Glenn and Seamus Flanagan closest to goal for years, like 2 huge men. And same even with Owen Cody and TJ Reid last year for that time with Kilkenny on edge of the square. So, Craig Morgan's going really well at midfield. They seem to be getting a lot right, but again, of course, we the coaching doing here, Brother Dahmer always used to say to me, the further you go in every competition, the harder it gets. And that's kind of the same for the whole year. Like, They've started well against Galway and Wexford. They'll play Limerick now this weekend. It'll be another test as they go on. And if they win this weekend, they have a great chance to get to a league final.
Yeah.
That'll be another test. And obviously, they got as far as league semi-final last year. And, they never really recovered from it. Clare gave them a bit of a hiding above in Portlaoise. And obviously, the Munster Championship is another step up. But look, it's hard to know. Will Tipp get out of Munster this year? It's tough. It's tough to beat. Top three teams in Ireland at the moment are Clare, Limerick, Cork, probably. And tough as to get out. But they started well. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised now if this game is only a point or two in at the weekend. I still fancy Limerick to win, but maybe Limerick by 2 points maybe.
Tipp need to be ultra competitive with you, don't they? Like, there's been times, obviously last year's Munster Championship game was a rout. Like, it was, a disaster, nearly straight from the off. There's a lot of new faces in. It'd be a massive boost if they were able to be very, very competitive and take you down the stretch. I think getting a win might be a bit of a stretch at this stage.
Yeah, well, you and I say that, but we know what Tipperary people like. They nearly have it. If you were saying that, no, like, oh yeah, we love it, but they want to win, and they, you know what I mean. In fairness to them, that's what. Moral victories are no good to them, even though maybe it probably should be in terms of development because they have basically a new team coming in. But they want that's not the way they are. In fairness, in their history, they'll go Sunday, and unless Limerick open up a lead and win the game, they'll never let on that they want to win it. But if that game is close and tight, they'll expect to win it coming down the stretch because they'll have a lot of their main. They'll have more of their main men than Limerick will. Like I said, the three boys Limerick that went off against Cork, I'd imagine won't be back. It's only a week turnaround. And then a lot of the other fellas that were missing last week and not tied out for Limerick won't be back either. Like my Casey, Dara, and these fellas, I'd imagine if they weren't tied out last week, they probably won't be tied out this week. So it's definitely a big chance for Tipp. And been impressed with some of their younger guys now. That Sam O'Farrell wing back looks like a
good player.
Looks like a really good player. He was very good in the 20s last year as well. And that the man who had done the scoring damage, was it Walsh, is it? From Ballingarry?
Yeah,
he was excellent against Galway. He could have had a hat-trick. So look, it'll be a good game now. I'm going to go into it. Looking forward to it. Hopefully it's a good day now. Get over to the uncovered stand and get a grounds, and hopefully it's a good game now. What way do you see it going?
No, I think they need to be really competitive with you and take you down the stretch. I think if they were beaten by 6 or 7 or something, it'd be a bit of a disaster. But I honestly think that Tipp are overachieving a bit at this stage of the season. I didn't expect it. They're hitting the ground running right from the off. I don't know whether that will be able to be sustained come latter stages of the league, early stages of Munster. I still think they're a bit out of the top 3 in Munster at the minute. Now that could close maybe, but as you say, like, they were going well last year until the league semi-final, and then all of a sudden they were struggling and they were never able to get back. So it's going to be interesting. I didn't read too much into the Galway game because, listen, like, the league has thrown up the last 5 or 6 years in particular these mad kind of like nearly aberrations in the first couple of rounds where you're like, oh Jesus, Clare are finished because Antrim beat them. Oh wait, next week they're not. No, they're back. Do you know what I mean? Like, in Galway are the same. Like, you can't read too much into
even in the Munster Championship. Like, Cork lost their first 2 games in the Munster Championship last year. Got to the Ireland final. Like, when you look at the Munster Championship, obviously that's where Tipp will be judged on this year, whether they get out or not. But I always find that, again, the home and away is fierce important. They have Waterford at home, who obviously everyone knows that's like a 6-pointer that between Waterford, because they're going to be rated as 4th and 5th, whichever way you want to put it, based on the last 2 years. So they have Waterford and Thurles, and they have Limerick and Thurles. They have Limerick and Thurles and Cork and Clare away. So you'd have to imagine that, they haven't had a good record against Limerick. So they're really, if they can beat Waterford, and their big one then is to beat Cork away, if they could beat Cork away. Now, obviously, it's very tough, but when you go back to 2019, when the round robin was there, they went down the first round. Remember Bubba's Wire got like 7 points in play. He was brilliant.
Yeah.
That was a big shock at the time because Cork had just barely missed out in the All-Ireland. They lost those after extra time, and everyone was like, oh, this 19 now, Cork will come back. And Tipp had been poor the year before, but Tipp went down then Sheedy's first game, and they got a load of goals. And John McGrath got a goal as well, and they bet Cork that day, and that's what set them up. And they got them, and Tipp got to the Munster final that year. They won every game in the round robin. Right. It's actually the only time it's ever happened in round robin, fairly sure. I think where a team has won every game.
I'd say you're right, because the top has generally been 7. 7 has been the top most of the time. There's been a draw nearly always thrown in for the top team. Yeah.
Last year was the first. Last year, it's funny. Limerick were going for 6-0 last year. Last year was the first time Limerick finished top of the group.
That's right. Yeah,
That's right.
Clare have had a better combined round robin record than Limerick. I think they might still be ahead of Limerick, and they've no much for title to show for it, which people always, anytime I put it out or throw it up on Twitter or do a piece around it, people immediately say that. Just a couple of quick comments to fly through there. Just the one comment in there says Tipp of 2 wins, so surely their fans will come back. And although it's clashing with the rugby on TV, so it might be less of a crowd. There was actually 5 and a bit thousand in Semple the other day. Might not look like it because the cameras were pointing over to what looked like an empty stand, but there was obviously the guts of 5,000 in the main stand. So there was a good crowd there, because I made sure to find out, because it was said in commentary on Alliance League Sunday that there wasn't many there, but there was plenty there. Porter says don't have the forwards in Tipp. What have you seen much of Darren McCarthy, Pat? He's mostly done scoring from place ball so far, and there's a lot of expectation on his shoulders, but he's like he has a lot of the attributes that could make him a really, really dangerous forward for the next decade or so.
Yeah, he has a touch of something about him, right? And he's bowled as well, like you on a hurling field. You can see it in him. I've seen a bit of him now. I went up. I saw a bit of him in the club championship last year. I went to the Bursley and Tipperary game in the first round last year, and they actually lost that game by a point, and they got to the county final. But he kind of tore it up after that. He went really good, and it's funny because last year, he was 19 last year.
Yeah,
Ray McCormick was following him all over the field. You know, which be one of Bursley's most experienced players, full back, and he never really comes out of full back really, unless maybe wing back. But Darren McCarthy, he followed him all around the field. So that'll tell you what. Straight away as a 19-year-old, you know what the club teams and Tipp rate him as. But obviously he was outstanding in the 20s last year in the Munster final against Cork. He was brilliant. He got an exceptional point. I think it was the winning point in the end, the one out by the sideline.
Yeah, it's outrageous. Did you see the still photo after where your man has the hurl up? He looks like he's about 400 yards away from the goal. Yeah. You'd wonder how he got over at all. Yeah,
outrageous. So look, it looks like they're going to nail their. I'd imagine he'll probably start this year. Like the Galway game now. He took the penalty exceptionally well and took the freeze well. He was quiet from play, but he's marking Fintan Burke, a fellow that's just coming out of technically underage hurling now, the way it is under 20. I marked Fintan Burke in a challenge match 2 years ago. They bet as well here in Doon, and he's just an incredibly strong man. Incredibly strong man. He's just, really, really hard to tussle with the ball with. And Darren McCarthy obviously had that in his first game above. So that'll stand to him knowing so well. So look, I won't put too much pressure on him. I'm not going to say like, oh yeah, he's going to he's going to be a top forward in Ireland or anything like that, because look, who knows, and it depends on the team you have around you as well, because it's a 15-man game. But he does look like someone that in time will be a really, really good forward. It's a great sign when you see lads for your club team standing up and being the main men. Similar to what we had with Adam last year. Just sometimes you need, and that's why Tipperary got to the final, was that your man, Darren McCarthy was a bit of a difference maker. So usually fellas like that translate pretty well to the inter-county stage, and all they kind of really need to be given his time. And I think he's going to get that he's well rated enough in Tipp that if he was just to have a couple of bad league games, whereas other fellas who might be fringe players and trying to get into one bad league game, that's it. They might be gone out. Whereas I think they're kind of identifying with this fella. Look, we're going to have to nail our colours to mast with him now, and we're just going to give him the number 15 jersey for the foreseeable year, like for this year. And we do believe even if he doesn't produce it this year, he will produce it over time. So look, and they have a lot of good young hurlers coming. So talking to fellas in Tipp, and obviously a good 20s team, but it's just there's no guarantees in anything. You just don't know how some certain people will translate. Tipp won a 20s and a 21s in, was it 18 and 19, and didn't get as much out of that crop as they would have liked.
Yeah.
I know, and I often heard yourself and Shane saying that, it was because they didn't get the chances, but I don't know, the Tipp forwards, they weren't good enough to dislodge any of the players who were there at the time either. They just weren't. If they were doing enough, they would have dislodged them.
Yeah. Just on Darren McCarthy, I'd be actually happy enough that he's not lighting it up from playing the league, and he's not getting it. Sometimes nearly lads can get it a bit too easy and fly on the scene straight away, and you probably get a false representation of just how difficult it is at that level. He's having to earn everything, and most of his scores are coming from place balls, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I do think Cattle has given him the trust, they'd say, of you potentially could be the free taker for us for the next decade or so. I mightn't be here, but I'm going to start you off or whatever. And it's going to be interesting to follow his progress very closely. But the Clare boys are going to be delighted. We've gone 3/4 of an hour, Pat, and we barely even talked about them. It's funny because going into this year, everyone's talking about Cork because they were so close, and everybody thinks they're the coming team. Everybody's talking about Limerick because they were obviously going for 5 in a row and were stopped, and everyone expects them to come back. But not that many people are actually talking about the defending champions, and they're going to be like right there again. They're not going to be any weaker. Like, how do you see Clare heading into this year?
Yeah, see him probably. You have to say, I even know. Look, it's tight because if you said who's number one, Limerick did beat Clare last year twice, which is fine. But Clare won the championship, so Clare are the top team in the country. Simple as that. And it's one thing about Clare. You would look at their team, and some people like to think that they're aging. John Conlon and Tony Kelly's going to be 32 this year, whereas even though he was as good, back to his best action in the Ireland final and stuff. But they have an awful lot of really good young talent there. They really do. They have a lot of good young players there. Patrick Crotty last against Kilkenny, wing forward, is very good, I thought. Was it Conroy, centre forward? I think he got some fantastic points in the first half, and they were flying it against Kilkenny, which was some going considering who they were missing now. They're missing about 10 or 11 players from the panel, that weren't even on the subs from. And Grode McInerney or Dave McInerney went off injured that game, and they still nearly beat Kilkenny that day. So look, they're going to take fierce beating. They will be in the Munster final, is my prediction again this year. I know fellas are thinking like, God, will it be a different Munster final? I think it will be Limerick and Clare again because of the fixtures, the fact that they have Cork at home in Ennis. They're so hard to beat in Ennis. They're so hard to beat in Ennis. So why they're so good in the round robin is because they're the best home team. So they're nearly guaranteed. They're nearly guaranteed now. They're not like Tipp turned them over there 2 years ago down there when that goalie, the time he had a few errors in the first half. Jake Morris got a couple of goals. But they're nearly guaranteed 6 points before they play their away games with the record at home, in Cusack Park. So that's why they're so good in this round robin. And I think that will continue this year. They'll only need one other win against either Limerick or Waterford away. So I think they'll probably be back in the Munster final. I don't think they'd admit it, but they'd love to win a Munster final more than anything this year, I think. The record in Munster finals for a lot of them players have played in 5 Munster finals and won none. I saw a thing there, Gerard Nan was at their medals night calling it the K2 somewhere, wherever that was where they needed to get to. 98 since they won a Munster title. I think they'll be hard to stop in Munster this year. I really do. Whether they'll retain the All-Ireland, I don't know. But Munster, they mightn't be a bad bet for a Munster title.
It's a gas, but you're 100% right. I think they'd get, the All-Ireland is huge, don't get me wrong. But now that they've achieved that, obviously, and if they're able to win Munster, that leaves them 2 steps away from an All-Ireland. I think they'll be going, they've probably been going gung-ho the last couple of years, but that would be, they would give anything to get their hands on that.
And it's funny, Dave McInerney, Tony Kelly, and even Colin Galvin, they won every Munster championship they ever competed in a minor and 21s. They won 5 in a row. They won 2 minor and 3 21s. Yeah. And you'd think, geez, how many, and everyone knew in 13 they had a great team. Like if you said in 2013 they wouldn't have a Munster title in the next 10, 12 years, you said impossible. Do you know what I mean? And they went from winning 5 finals in a row at underage to they've lost 5 finals at senior in Munster title. So I'd say it's just a big, big one for them now. I'd say they would give anything for that Munster title, but look how hard they are to win. It's just they mightn't even get to the final. You don't know. They could. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they go down to Waterford. I don't know who they have first. Maybe they go down to Waterford and Waterford will turn them over like Waterford did to Cork last year.
I'd be confident that they're
time will tell, but they I can't see them not being in the semi-final.
Yeah, I would be confident.
Yeah, they're in a very good place.
Like if you look at what tipped them over the line in the All-Ireland final, it was Darragh Lohan being able to come in. I thought Keane Galvin was huge. Shane Kingston literally looked like he was going to win the All-Ireland for Cork in extra time. You're just looking at all the open space, and Galvin from Clare Castle came in wing back and just shored it up completely. Meehan came in, Ian Galvin. They have serious options. They have that.
Shane Meehan got a point that actually ended up being a fierce important point. He only won by a point, and he got a point further out the field to put him 2 up, and then Cork got another one. And they won by a point. They ended up being the winning point in the All-Ireland. So they have a lot of really, really good young players there. They have a lot of really good players. So I think even like them going up to Galway now this weekend, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see the team, see if they have any main men back, but they were so close to turning over Kilkenny with almost their second 15. It makes the Galway game fierce hard to call this weekend. It's very hard to call league games. So it is when you see what Galway done you know, in their first 2 games, and you see what Clare, they're missing fellas, you know, you don't know, like, you couldn't call that game. Like, that game was a very hard game to call now.
Yeah, well, the results are so volatile, and you just don't know how much they've been doing during that week, or even in the week off coming into a league game. You just, like, if Clare have had 2 weeks off, so chances are they've probably loaded up within those 2 weeks. So you don't know. You're kind of thinking they should be coming in fresh, but you don't really know. Like, and it's a fine
Well, it was
balancing
funny.
act. Yeah, you
I
want
was
to
just
stay
going to
up
say,
as
no,
well.
like, balance act in the league. When I was with Limerick, we trained the same, whether we did 2 weeks off or 1 week on. We trained the same every week, and that was incredibly hard. Every week, just genuinely, there was times there like, these lads know, like, we've another game this Sunday. After, like, you know, you play on a Saturday or Sunday, and then Tuesday would be just Tuesday would be so hard. Tuesday would be so hard, and it'd just be non-stop. But you're just getting the body ready for later in the year, you know, and you have to be able to do that, because obviously with round robin, you're playing basically 3 games in 14 days sometimes, or, you know, from or 2 games in 14 days, or whatever it is, and you just have to get the body ready. But I think every team more or less trains the same during the league. They're all just training hard. I don't think maybe some teams are cuter than others, that they say, oh, we'll give them a rest this week and then we'll win this game. You know, I don't know if it works like that. I think they all kind of, you know, train more or less the same.
I think so, yeah. Well, you can't really afford to taper off during the league, because you'll probably end up getting hurt down the road if you do. But one thing I meant to ask you about Limerick, what did you make of your club teammate at number 4 last Saturday night? Definitely wasn't something I was expecting anyway, Barry Murphy.
No, it wasn't something I was expecting either. No, he played really well. Barry's a great utility player like that. Like, do you know what I mean? He started off his career at Limerick playing corner forward, and then he's played a lot of games in the half forward line, the midfield. And then last year, basically was introduced into the half-back line by Derek McGrath here in Doon, and went reasonably well. Now, he was still able to get up the field in that the way we played. You know, he was still quite attacking as a half-back. But with Limerick the other day, no one saw coming. I think it was, you know, obviously, I think it was more so injury, because in the challenge matches and stuff like that, he had played midfield that they played in the last month. So I think some of it was kind of injury related as well. To some players, they were probably down that line. Barry Nash has a bit of a knock at the moment. I think Mike Casey has a bit of a knock, and then Sean Finn wasn't 100%. You know, so look, will it continue or not? It's a great asset to have a fella that, you know, that can play. Look, if we need him at midfield, he can go in at midfield. If we need him at cornerback, he can go in at cornerback or halfback or whatever it is. So no, he done really well. No, he done really well for a fella who'd never played. I've seen Barry play all my life. He'd never played there at under 14 level even, or, you know, 16 at club. Nothing ever. He'd always just played in the forwards up along. Midfield was very new to me only 2 years ago when he started playing there at Limerick. So yeah, he's going to be filled in anywhere now he needs, I think.
Well, it's a great sign if you get a chance and it's in an unusual position and you play well. You just have more stock. They feel like they can bring in a lot of different places, and as you say, he's a very, very good utility player. Just the last one on Limerick, something you mentioned earlier. Do you think it's like, Hannon has obviously been unbelievable at centre back, but do you think there's a possibility that he plays somewhere in the forward line, or a floating role, or even could be an impact off the bench in the forwards?
Look, it's definitely a possibility. You just don't know. He could, like, maybe if they do decide that Kyle is their 6, maybe they could play Deck at 7. You know, okay. I just don't know. I think it's either going to be 6, it's either going to be in the half back line, or it's going to be used as maybe an impact in the forward line. Because, you know, people forget, like, Deck played as many years in the forwards at Limerick as he did in as he did in the backs. Like, when he was nominated for an All-Star in 2011 in his first year in the forwards. He was lighting up, and he was nominated for an All-Star a couple of years. 2014 as well. He got 5 points in playing that great semi-final against Kilkenny above the rain. You know, so he's a very, very capable forward. Now, obviously, he's probably, you know, some people regard now as the greatest centre back of all time, or the greatest captain of all time as well, which everyone would be rightly to say that, because he has been an incredible centre back. So I definitely wouldn't rule him out playing centre back either, just because he mightn't have had a great year last year, or just because the captaincy's gone off him. I just think that's just natural progression anyway. You know, that might rejuvenate him now. You know what I mean? The hunger might be there, because fellas are thinking like he won't be centre back, where he was nailed on centre back for years. Now the narrative is, oh, he might be centre back. So, you know, maybe maybe this weekend he will be centre back and he'll play Stormer, or the following week. Or, you know, I wouldn't rule out someone like John Kiley putting a change off and putting him up into the forwards. It definitely could happen. Like, he's done things before. Like, Kiley was put back up into the forwards when he had been nominated for Hurler of the Year in 2020 in the half back line. And in 2021, then he was back up in the forwards. You know, for certain games. I know sometimes it's injury related when certain fellas are out, but look, nobody knows. There's only one man that knows, maybe two men that knows that's involved in the management. But because I don't think he's played much yet this year. He had a bit of an injury or something, but I know he's back training now, I think. So just delighted he's still there, to be honest, Dick, because you're not going to have fellas like him around forever that are that good, that great, and carry that leadership. So hopefully he'll still be a big player now.
Was he, as captain, Pat, like, was he front and centre as captain, or was he more understated?
More understated, but just an incredible leader. You know what I mean? Just leads by example. Like the great leaders, I think, lead by example, don't they? They don't have to say much. Even the way he lives his life, to be honest, he's just a fairly stand-up guy. He does very well in his career and work that what he does. He'd be very good for being there for fellas if he needed to say, if a fella wanted to talk to him about something, there could be someone you could go and speak to that, I think he'd give you great life advice as much as hurling advice and stuff like that. And other than that, then, like, right, the small league is very small for you, but other than that, he's just been a rock since he played for Limerick since 2011. Like, I don't know how many games he's played since 2011, but geez, he must be up near the record holder, like, and everyone must be starting as well, which to keep that consistency over that time. And he was a golden child in Limerick hurling. Like, they won a few Harty Cups. He played minor under 16. He was one of these lads that there was an awful lot of pressure on. He's gonna, like, I remember him playing centre back against Tipp when he was a county minor, and he was unbelievable centre back. But then even with the club, he was in the forwards and stuff like that. And when he brought into the team at the first senior team, he was in the forwards and he was even taking frees, and there was just so much pressure on him. But sure, look, he's more than delivered and all that now, and he's a legend. He's some legend in this county now. Like, he's people would do anything. Like, when people see Declan Hannon in this county now, they just flocked him. Like, so what he's done is unprecedented in the GA in terms of being captain for that many Irelands. It's just incredible.
Porter is trying to claim both you and Declan Hannon. He's a Tipp man. He said Pat Ryan's mother is Tipp. We know that. Boris Lee, because Stapleton never stops going on about it. But he says, is Hannon's mother Tipp too, I think?
Yeah. She's Stakelum and Turles, yeah.
Oh, Jesus, fairly good pedigree there.
Yeah. He's related to some of the lads in Turles. I don't know if he's related to Ronan Maher, but I think one of their people of Paddy Maher himself could be of some sort related to some of the Stakelums that Declan is related to. I think I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, Declan's mum is Tipperary, yeah. Okay. Similar to myself. Yeah. And Tom and Dan Morrissey's father is Cashel man as well.
Okay. Yeah. Tipp have infected everywhere. Jesus Christ. I always found the gas. Ronan Matter makes herds for Galan and a couple more, like, as well, and then he could be marking him in a championship game. I always found that hilarious.
Yeah, he's making them for me since we were in college, in first year in college together in 2014.
Jesus, right, okay.
Yeah, and for Dara, yeah, he was making them for Dara Donovan for years and different things, and a lot of players. Yeah, he was a cute whore too. In at that stage, he hadn't started playing with Tipp. He used to put Paddy's name on him. Paddy Maher. He used to say there were Paddy Maher Surleys, and he was selling loads of them. But then he started coming through. Then he started sending them off then as well. But no, a great hurley maker, serious man to make a hurley. I've been going to him for years now. The only thing is he's so busy with him. It's hard to get him. You want plenty of notice. You wouldn't want to have a game this weekend and be ringing him for a hurley. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
you want to be getting on to him now for the first round of the championship. Best.
Well, it's a good sign when a lad is out the door anyway. That's the lad that's standing there waiting for you to come in to get your hurl. You're probably not going to be a great quality.
Yeah. No, and Ronan is a sound fella. He actually lived with Richie in college, who obviously is my clubman, Richie English as well and stuff. They played in Mary I, so I got to know him a bit when he was living with Richie, and Darren Donovan was in Mary I as well, so he was basically living with us, and Stephen Cahill from Turles. So got to know them lads a bit, and fierce sound fellas. We played against them a lot between UL and Mary I, and obviously with Tipp and stuff like that over the years. I'm delighted to see Ronan Maher at 6 with Tipp as well. I think it's his best position. Yeah. I know he's been a pretty good fullback as well and stuff, but I think he's brilliant at 6. You see that ball to Dylan Walsh that he gave against Galway, like that was ridiculous. That pass into his hand was just outrageous, and that's what he can do from there. So I think him being at 6 now will suit him for the year.
They'd love to have 3 of them and have him at 3, 6, and 7 probably, but like to have him at 6, it's just he's too much hurling for fullback, and I mean that's obviously the highest of compliments. Like he's too much hurling for fullback. But Pat, I'll just let you go on this one. We haven't touched on Waterford, and they obviously had a fairly tough weekend last weekend, but brilliant weekend for Carlo. Jesus, what a win! Their first ever win against Waterford. And if you look back on it, it was only 5 or 6 years ago they drew against Galway in the league in Cullen Park. They drew a Kilkenny last year, beat Waterford this year. They're fairly maxing out on their golden generation, but like from a Waterford point of view, it's obviously it's not the way you want to start the league. They're kind of behind the 8 ball to come back up now, and I'm sure they're going to want to get back up to 1A.
It's unlikely they'll come back up now. No, maybe they'll turn it around, but they're away to Antrim, which in league is
their schedule is terrible, Pat.
Yeah, they have Dublin at home. At home. I know that, but Dublin actually beat them the last time they played them in the league at home a couple of years ago. Marquino Sullivan got a few goals. But and Dublin are flying. I saw Dublin play against Limerick in a challenge match in Newell there a few weeks ago. They're absolutely flying it. But away to Antrim is so tough. Like Antrim have beaten Wexford, and did they draw with Clare up there a couple of years ago as well?
Beat Clare.
It was the first game. I think they beat Clare, or they drew them or beat them, because it was the first game he put John Conlon centre back. And everyone was like, what the hell is he doing putting John Conlon centre back?
They beat them, they beat them that day. Yeah. Drew with Wexford and beat Clare,
and it didn't work out too bad in the end. But but like they're against it now. But look, like it's funny with Waterford. Waterford lost to Clare last year by a point. That because of a 65 in the last puck of the game, there probably wasn't a 65 at all. Clare won the All-Ireland. They beat Cork, blowing Cork from minute. They didn't beat them with they didn't get lucky beating them. They took the lead early, bet them the whole game, and Cork got to the All-Ireland final. Do you know what I mean? So it's just funny, but you don't want to be fluctuating between, oh look, this is what we can do, and then we lose to Carlow. But obviously Carlow deserved to win that game. Like they drew with Kilkenny last year, who won the Leinster Championship. They drew them in the Leinster Championship, not just league. So Carlow obviously quite good as well. Like I never played against Carlow much. We played St. Mullins in a challenge match last year, coming up to the county final, and they were a serious team, So Carlow have a lot of really good hurlers. We played them down in Federer. So look, Waterford, I don't think, like you said earlier about you don't read too much into it. Look, it's not ideal. A lot of the players will be hurting. But when they get their starting 15 back, when they get their main men back for championship, they will be hard to beat. They will be incredibly hard to beat. They need to try, if they can do in Waterford like what Clare do in Ennis and become just incredibly hard to beat down there, that's their best chance of getting out of Munster, obviously. I know some people over the years say, but it doesn't suit them down there. It has to suit them. You know what I mean? They have to make it suit them. Now, they kind of done that last year in fairness. They beat Cork down there. You know what I mean? And it was their away games that they didn't like. Losing to Tipp was a crazy one. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or the year, they went up, maybe Tipp lost to them. It's obviously just trying to get consistency is what's going to be. But look, they just need to get their main men back. Like, you know what I mean? They can't afford to be losing teams like maybe like a Limerick and Clare can afford, because their panel is so deep and strong at the moment. The likes of Waterford just can't afford that right now. They have to get them all back. And look, it'll be interesting when the Munster Championship starts to see how they get on.
I honestly think all eggs in the Munster basket for Waterford. Get the Borca, get Barron, get Darragh Lyons, get Prunty, get all these boys fit for Munster and give it a right crack and try and get out of a system that they've had a terrible record in, realistically. So I think that's all.
It's a pity with the fellas they've lost. It's a pity with the fellas they've lost travelling as well, like Caelan Lyons and stuff. And I've heard Mikey Kiley's going. I don't know if that's true.
That rumor was out there, but I don't think so. No, I think Peter Queally kind of rubbished it a week or two ago.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. Neil Montgomery's gone as well.
Yeah. You can't afford to be missing anymore anyway. Pat, you've been very generous with your time. Really appreciate it. And sure, we'll chat to you in a couple of weeks when things are spiced up even more.
No bother, mate. Thanks a million.
Come on, Pat. Thanks a million.
Thanks. Look.
To fly through another couple of quick fixtures that are coming up this weekend. Obviously, the Sigerson Cup semi-final on tonight. Ulster University against DCU, Docus Éireann. I think Rory Canavan is back for that. Hasn't played since the All-Ireland Club final with Erga Kieran. Fitzgibbon Cup quarter-final, TUS Midwest against MTU Cork. Other hurling fixtures this weekend. Obviously, Wexford play Kilkenny in Division 1A. That's on Saturday, 5:30 in Wexford Park. Talk of Lee Chin being available for them. Looks like he will be. He's been back training the last maybe 10 days or so with them, despite reports of the contrary and him joining Sydney GA WhatsApp groups and whatever. He is back training at Wexford. Galway play Clare on Saturday night in Salt Hill. There's Division 4 fixtures as well this weekend. This Saturday, Warwickshire against Louth. Louth are 2 from 2 so far. Longford against Leitrim. Division 1A then on Sunday, obviously the aforementioned Limerick versus Tipp game in the Gaelic grounds. That's live on TG Carter. Going to be a really interesting game. Waterford will be trying to bounce back this weekend. Probably not the worst fixture in the world for them this weekend against the Leash side, who were probably struggled in the second half against Offaly. The last they were beaten by 9 in the wind-up. Westmeath against Dublin as well. Dublin had a very good win against Antrim in the first round. They were off last weekend. Face Westmeath. They go up to Cusack Park on Sunday. Anything other than a comprehensive enough Dublin win would be a surprise. Offaly have 3 points from a possible 4 so far. They welcome Davy Fitz's Antrim to Tullamore on Sunday. That's live on TG Carter as well. Really interesting game. I'd imagine if Davy was circling any game in the calendar throughout the league campaign, it would definitely be that. Probably that, and maybe the Waterford game where they welcome them up to Corrigan Park. Like, they've a chance possibly there. If they beat Offaly, they're on 4, and then Offaly are only on 3, and they have a positive head-to-head with Offaly. So that's a big game. In Division 2, down or 2 from 2 so far, they face Donegal, Tyrone against Meath, Kerry against Derry. Kerry took a fair pacing against Kildare last weekend. It was their first weekend out, but that was a big defeat for them. And obviously Kildare were trying to bounce back from the week before, been beaten by Down, and they did. Division 3, Armagh against Wicklow. Wicklow are 1 from 1. Sligo against Mayo. Sligo are struggling at the minute. They're 0 from 2 at the minute. And London, who are 2 from 2 against Cavan. And then Division 4, Fermanagh against Monaghan. Fiol just has a comment in there, never mentioned Flanagan at all. Yeah, that was an oversight on my behalf. I don't know what Pat would say about that, or that I wouldn't say, other than you couldn't condone anything like that in the game. I think anything around that region of the body should be totally off limits, and it's almost like a code that generally it's not the sort of thing that happens, even though it has happened an awful lot more. Don't think he's going to face a ban by all accounts, because it's fan footage, and Colin Keys had a piece in the Independent the other day basically just saying that footage wouldn't be admissible. So because potentially it could have been edited, or there's no context to it, we didn't see the full picture of what happened a couple of seconds before that. So if it was up to me, it would be probably a 2-game suspension, but he might get away with it in this instance. But we don't have too much football this weekend, but one of the main teams that are out this weekend are Kerry, and delighted to have Adam Moynihan with us again. Adam, how are you getting on?
Good, Bernie. How are you?
Good. I'd say you were one happy man looking at the action in Celtic Park the other day. Like, if ever the FRC wanted positive advertisement for all their enhancements, they got it last Sunday.
I was happy at the end of the game anyway, definitely, Bernie. Yeah, it was an unbelievable finish. I mean, like, at stages there, it looked like Derry were going to pull away or at least win by 5 or 6 points, but they'll be kicking themselves like they lost that game. Or they had that game won twice and they lost it, So yeah, like, there was loads to enjoy about it. Obviously the finish was very exciting, and from a Kerry point of view, we're delighted to come back down south with 2 points, because it's not easy to win games up in Ulster for Kerry teams down through the years in the league, and to get the 2 points is massive. But like, really what was enjoyable, and I think most people would agree, was a lot of it was a result of the new rules. So a major factor in the game the last day was the high fielding around the middle of the pitch, which we just haven't seen at all in recent years. Nearly every kick-out went long. Like, Shane Ryan went long with nearly every kick-out. Now, it didn't really suit Kerry at the start, because Derry were just lifting around the middle third. Conor Glass, Brendan Rodgers, his name's centre back, but he caught a high ball at one stage. Obviously, Anton Toll is a huge man, and he got a great catch at one stage. So Kerry were in trouble in the first half, I thought, with the high balls. But just even as a neutral, if you were watching it, you must have really enjoyed watching the boys, with those high catches. An interesting tactic, I thought, as well, actually, just kind of related to the kickouts. Derry, look, if they could catch clean ball, they'd catch it, but they seem to be favouring punching the ball as well. So especially for Shane Ryan's kicks, Derry had the wind and they were fisting the ball down. They really didn't want Kerry to catch any clean kickouts, which I think is an interesting tactic, and I think you'll see more of it, because when you catch the ball cleanly in midfield in the new game with the new rules, it opens everything up straight away. You can turn, no matter what way you're facing, you can kick it straight back in because there's space. You can turn and there's space because there's such a bunch around the middle. And I think, to be fair, in the first half, the last day, Derry dominated midfield. But to be fair, Diarmuid O'Connor, he came into big time in the second half. He had about 3 big catches. And like I said, once that happened and Kerry can get the ball in fast to their forwards, like they did a bit of damage. Conor Ganey was brilliant. I mean, look, a guy who's been fantastic in the club championship for England the last few years, ably assisted by Dylan, who's been fantastic as well. You've Ganey coming in and getting 2 goals, and Donald Sullivan down coming in getting a goal. So it was a bit of a goal fest. It was very exciting. But I think, to be fair, like Derry be looking at that saying, "Geez, like how did we not come out of there with all 2 points?"
Yeah, and the irony of a Paddy Taddy team conceding 5 goals against Kerry as well. There's definitely a bit of irony there. But it was like, even Tomas O'Shea was saying on Alliance League Sunday about Paul Ganey, even that with the new rules, a player like him, your body could be conserved a small bit by maybe a lot less running and tracking back and just doing what. Like, that's what he was put in the planet to do. You know what I mean? Score goals and be an absolute nuisance in around the goals, because he's so dangerous in around there.
Yeah, he's still deadly. For Dingle, no, he actually, interestingly enough, was playing maybe centre forward a bit last year, which you might think is surprising. But I agree with you, like, have him in close to goal, because once he gets the ball in his hands, now the first goal he got, there's no way he should have caught that. He caught it into his stomach. Like, it was a high-raking attempted shot by Sean O'Shea. I said Paddy Italy would have lost his mind at that. Like, you can't let any player to catch the ball in front of goal like as easily as Paul did there, but did brilliantly for the finish, almost had the keeper down. Second one, again, I know was another Derry mistake, but like, just the composure there, you just knew he was going to score. Again, kind of just almost went past the keeper and tapped it in. But yeah, players like Paul, players like Conor, like Conor was interviewed after the game for TG Carr and he couldn't stop smiling, and I know he won man of the match, so he was happy, but like, a fella like him, he even said it, like, he's like, I'm not going to be complaining about these new rules. Like, you know, they suit guys who have an eye for goal and like to stay in and conserve their energy, as you said, because Paul he has a great attitude. He'll work very hard, and like, but we want him in close to goal, because, to be honest, even when he tracks back, he wouldn't be the best tackler in the world. He'd be notorious for, you know, he'd be more of a fouler than a tackler, we'll say. But yeah, in close to goal, players like that, sure, they're going to lap it up.
Just realistically as well, when you were talking there about maybe not having the track back and not having the tackle, and immediately I'm thinking of Clifford and the wreck that he could potentially do with these rules.
Yeah, sure. Look, that's the dream. That's what we're all dreaming about down here. But no, yeah, look, obviously David gets a free pass. David's the one guy who kind of doesn't have to go past the 45 if he doesn't want to. The odd time he'd kind of go, but he'd be like, you know, passing them on to the next guy and I'll go back up kind of thing. But sure, absolutely, sure. That of all the fellas in the country, sure, that's the fella you want close to goal. And I'm not sure now when he'll be back. I think he possibly had a bit of an ankle thing that he's still dealing with. He was supposed to be rested for a couple of weeks anyway. But yeah, we're dying to see him come back and, you know, have a cut off it.
We were looking forward to Kerry and Donegal the first week, but if anything, it's even better now. You both have wins under your belt, and like Donegal kicked 20 points the other day. You put up 5-15. It's going to be interesting. I think, am I right saying that Jack O'Connor's last game in his second reign was a defeat to Jim? I think in 2012 All-Ireland quarter final. I think
that would have been Jack's last year in his second reign. Yeah. So there's history there, all right.
Yeah, but there's always a bit of history, and even just like that's going to be a tasty game. In fairness, Donegal were good the other night. I know Dublin picked up a few injuries and that, but it's definitely one to look forward to, even at this early stage.
Yeah, I was very impressed by Donegal's kicking. Like, their shooting was excellent. Darrow Wheel kicked some unbelievable scores. Just a real easy, natural shooter. He's a real baller. Obviously, Oisin Gallen can score from anywhere. He got a couple of real nice scores as well. You've Paddy McBearty coming in there, a fella coming around in the loop who can score from, you know, inside and outside the 2-point thing. So I think it's all shaping up to be a very attack-minded game and very exciting game. There's lots of guys there who can kick from distance. Hopefully the conditions are suitable for it. But to be fair, so far I think across the board we've seen some good 2-point attempts being taken. Maybe one or two exceptions, like Mayo, for example, don't really seem to have found their range so far from distance. I know they're missing a couple of guys as well. But definitely Donegal, like, sure, look, they made massive improvements last year under McGuinness, and I'd be expecting them to go on the same trajectory again this year. They've started the league well. Coming out to Kerry, that they won't have any fear of Kerry. Look, sure, Kerry they're still getting guys back in. I'd imagine the likes of Damien Burke, who started last week and played very well, he'll be kept in. You might see Donald O'Sullivan down the full forward line. So there's guys there who are kind of fighting for their places, while the kind of more established players are being kind of phased back in. So I think it's going to be a very tough game for Kerry. I'd find it hard to pick them, to be honest. I'd say it'd probably be close, but maybe Donegal momentum from that game last weekend. Like, to be honest, Kerry were lucky. Like, let's call a spade against Derry. Like, they could have easily lost that game, and I thought Derry were the better team overall. So room for improvement there, but definitely I definitely think it's going to be it's shaping up to be a good game for the neutrals, hopefully.
Yeah, just a comment in from PUL74, regular viewer. He just says, did he need someone on the sideline to make sure the 3-up rule isn't been broke? Hard for ref to monitor when the play is going on and the linesmen are watching the play as well. It's kind of just been engrossed into the linesman's job now. It's just part of his brief now as well, isn't it? It's a funny type of a one, yeah. And like, anecdotally, I know that, I think, was it Tipperary apparently kicked the leveling score the first week and only had 2 inside. That's what I'm hearing anyway. It is a difficult thing to monitor. But as we were saying, I think we were chatting about it last week. If they're not kind of influencing the play, I have less of an issue with it. If someone just strays back over the line and it's a mistake or whatever, like, I think the punishment is so severe that I don't think teams will do it when push comes to shove, because the punishment is just really harsh, and that's the point of it, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Sure, that's the thing. Like, that's the whole. I mean, I understand what you're saying if it doesn't affect the play. Having said that as well, there's going to be guys in the sideline from the other team calling it out, and if you don't give it, then it's like it could be a big swing. So I think, like, it is tough for the referees and the linesmen to call it. It's still very early days. I know there was a couple of where Mayo caught a couple of times against Galway, and I think like you said, the punishment is so big. I think fellas will be more tuned in. Like, what we haven't seen so far, I think, is someone intentionally trying to break the rule, which I think is encouraging. I haven't seen anyone going like, oh, I'm just going to run here and see if I can get away with it. Like, what we're seeing is guys are encroaching almost, and then they're being told, and they're kind of almost going back straight away. They're like, oh, whatever, is my fault. But I think, as I said last week as well, the overall benefit of it is that it brings structure to the game. And if there's going to be the odd time where it's not called correctly or there's a mistake made, I think that's not as significant as the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that, it's a more exciting spectacle. I think games so far this year have been higher scoring and in general more entertaining. So I think that's the positive to take from it.
What do you make of the 12v11? And are they going to have to bite the bullet with it?
Yeah, it's funny. So last week, after seeing Morgan doing it and other players, I was a bit. I was worried about it, but it's funny how things can flip. Like, I didn't see it as a big problem in the Kerry and Derry game. Guys are going forward, and it is a bit frustrating at times. But like, I would say that, look, it's very exciting. For example, Rafferty came forward the last day for our man. What did he kick? He got 2 pointers, like, and they were class, like, and sure, he's obviously a very good footballer. It's nice to see that. I still would have concerns that it's going to be used negatively when things get very serious in the championship. And we're going to see moments there where a team's hanging on and they're just hanging on to the ball under no pressure inside the opposition half. The kind of remedies being suggested are that could an attacking player track the opposition goalkeeper back into the other half? Like, that's an interesting one.
If he goes up there, potentially, you know what I mean? Other than that, obviously, unless he does go up, otherwise he stays up as a 3v3 the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like tracking him back. I would wonder, would that be another complication, another thing for the linesman to keep track of? Like, it's like, okay, he's maybe might have 2 months of these rules and he's counting 3v3, and next thing is like, okay, there's 2, and next thing I can see miscommunications happening there. Keeper kind of crossing over, maybe like luring a forward in and then stepping back into his own half, and like, I don't know, like, we'll have to see how they play out. But to be honest, overall, I'd be pretty pleased with how the rules are going so far. There's definitely things to be ironed out, but yeah, I think maybe after 4 games, after 6 games, we'll see, okay, this thing definitely isn't working, or this is going to be a problem. The 12v11, I think, could be a problem when games get serious, and we're going to return to this back and forth thing, which we don't want to see. But so far, I don't think it's time to press the panic button, we'll say.
What did you make of some of the losing scoring tallies? 124, 221. Imagine Westmeath was scored 221 and were beaten well. Like, Monaghan have lost their greatest forward in history, and they threw up 229 last weekend. Like, it's a different game. Now, I do think it's skewed. I do think when it comes to championship, it would be a bit different, and it'll be. I think this is probably one kind of extreme, and I think it will fall probably somewhere in the middle. But it is mad to see that type of score being put up in defeat in particular.
Oh yeah, so look, Derry, what the Derry score was it? 124. They got 124 like against Kerry. Like when you think back to last year's game, Kerry against Derry was one of the worst games I ever saw in my life in the championship. It was the most boring game ever. I don't know, did it end up 14-10 or something like that, or 15. It was very low scoring anyway. But if you told Derry, and it's not like Derry kicked 8 2-pointers to kind of, to boost that score. They only got two, so they got 21 pointers like against Kerry and a goal and still lose. Like it's some of the scores are put up. Yeah, you mentioned Monaghan there, like Westmeath scored 221, like, and they lost. Like Cavan got 20 points and they lost. Like these are big scores. But I suppose, look, as you said, I think you're right. Over time, these won't be. This isn't going to be the norm. I don't think. I think it will kind of teams will figure out how to defend better, and I don't think teams will be as gung ho maybe when it comes to the serious business. But I think maybe we're going to have to. The scores will get higher, and we're going to have to kind of recalculate in our heads, going like, is that a good score, or is that not enough? Like, before you'd be saying, geez, if you got 20 points, you'd be delighted. But now you might be saying, geez, we might need 24, we might need 25. So another thing to kind of probably wrap our heads around as the year goes on.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, yeah, because it's just like, when you have a breeze behind your back and you're saying, what's that worth? Like it might be 5 or 6, it could be 10 or 12 now. It's kind of funny, it's changed. Just not much football obviously this weekend, Kerry and Donegal aside. Any other kind of major takeaways from last weekend or anything interesting? My own Offaly got their second win on the board, which I was delighted with now, I have to say. But any other little bits and pieces or nuggets that you picked up?
Yeah, well, I think I found the Galway Mayo game really interesting. I think Galway have really kind of they've marked themselves out, I think, as the Golden State Warriors of the new rules. Like they're really, they're making hay from outside the arc. And with the 7-2 pointer as the last day, Shane Walsh got a couple of absolute beauties. One was 50 meters out with a free. He got one that was like a set play where he was the second midfielder in from the sideline. I don't know, did you see it?
Yeah.
And he was waiting. He's obviously no one marking him. And your man John Maher just gathered the ball and gave it to him with a free run at goal. So, like I said, Galway are definitely on the ball with the new rules, in particular the 2-pointer. Like they're really good with it. There was one that Walsh got that he was kind of free over on the far side, and again, to almost use a basketball analogy, it's a bit like leaving Steph Curry kind of free in the far. Like you never do it. There's always someone there just near him on the arc before you might say, okay, look, he's 40 years old. We can I'll wait for him to come to me. But your guys like Walsh now can just pull up basically and shoot from that distance. So. I think Mayo learned their lesson maybe last week. So yeah, no, Galway really impressive. On the flip side, then obviously Mayo, as I mentioned, not really. I think they've only got 1-2-pointer in their first 2 games. Like that's not really impressive by them. They got caught with the over and back or the 3v3 a couple of times as well. So work to be done. They've lost their first 2 games. It's going to be tough for them now to pick up points from now on as well. So yeah, I think, look, one thing we didn't want to see last weekend, I don't want to take too much time on it, but we did see a fan coming on and interfering with the ref after the Mayo Galway game. Now, look, you can look at this 2 ways. You can say, look, it's kind of there was thousands of people there and only one fella did it, and we don't know what's going on with that fella. He hasn't been identified or anything like that yet. There's going to be an investigation into it. That there's someone comes onto the pitch, be it at a club game or something, and the ref gets interfered with, and it's really frustrating from, I think, anyone who loves the GA's point of view, because we need the refs, and they're not easy to come by. And if you're watching that, if you're a young ref or you're thinking about going to referee and you're saying, geez, hang on, Mayo lost that game by 10 points. It wasn't a 1-point game. The ref didn't cost Mayo, that's that was just, no, again, we don't know. Maybe it was just the individual in question, but whatever. But there is a kind of a cultural issue there in the GA that we do think that we can say whatever we want to the refs. And that's fine. Maybe the verbals aren't as big a thing, or we don't think they are, but it all kind of feeds into the same kind of momentum that we're there's a kind of a lack of respect there. And I don't know, do we have to increase the penalties for it, increase the punishments for it? I don't know, do we need to change the way we think about how we, protect the pitches with shielding and things like that, because people are allowed onto the pitch. We like seeing the kids going onto the pitch after the games and all the rest of it, but there is the flip side to it, that that guy just got up and felt he could just approach the referee and have a bit of a bump off him. So look, it's not the biggest talking point from the weekend, but it is something that I kind of, you'd feel bad for the refs, and I don't know, like you always say it, but Jesus, things like that happen, you think, who'd be a ref?
Yeah, and as you say, it wasn't like a Mayo Mix scenario from 2014 where he had a lot of grievances that he could have had with the referee. Like there was no grievances really that you could have with the referee the other day. So that was a strange one. As I said, you don't know what the crack is really with the individual involved. But no, that's super, Adam. A light enough football weekend, but any weekend Kerry you're playing, I'm sure you're happy enough. So we'll be back again next Thursday, and we will see you then for another Our Game show. I'm delighted to be sponsored once again by Lottoland, and we'll see you again next Thursday. Thanks a million.